Hi everyone, I am so glad you're here. If you're new, my name is Kea, and I make intentional living content. If you're curious about what that even is, you're in the right place. Today, I'm actually going to dive into the story of how I started on my journey of living a more deliberate, purposeful, and intentional life. Growing up like any 90s/2000s kid, I lived a pretty average, lower middle class life. If I were to describe an average day as a child, it would kind of look something like this. Wake up, eat a Pop-Tart or a bowl of Lucky Charms, of course, watch an episode of SpongeBob, head out the door quickly, memorize enough to regurgitate all the right answers on next week's test to get an A, forget it all, go home, eat some snacks, and watch TV way too late into the night, to do it all over again the next day. I had two hardworking parents that both worked night shifts. They did the best they knew how with what they had to provide all the things for me and my brother to thrive. And for that, I'm really grateful. A few things, though, that I thought were normal as a child that once I became an adult, realized maybe aren't or shouldn't be at least. Number one was my chronic fatigue, just feeling super tired and worn out, like all the time. Number two was being pretty busy and stressed, even as a kid. Number three was the sum of my life being about how I acted, behaved, performed, and not who I am. Fast forward to me turning 19. I married my high school sweetheart and we started our life together. This was actually the first time I was responsible for my life and how I wanted to live it. I got to decide what kind of food I was going to buy with our money, how we were going to spend our evenings, what kind of detergent I was going to buy, how we'd handle technology. And with each passing decision, I found my Gen Z skeptical self questioning and researching everything, trying to figure out what was best for me and my family with the resources that we had. I realized for the first time in my life, I wasn't just making subconscious, go with the flow decisions. I was living intentionally, which is simply defined as living deliberately or purposely. Fast forward again to turning 20 and getting pregnant with our first child, I really started researching everything. That mother bear instinct kicked in so hard to nourish the little life that was growing inside of me, to question the way things are normally done. And I would say that this is what started me on my crunchy journey. Then she was born, and I realized that my husband and I were going to be responsible for parenting her, which opened a whole new can of worms in my life. Researching and thinking deeply about how we would guide her in the years to come, how serious of a task it would be stewarding this human soul who relies on you as their authority. As I mentioned earlier, we were 19 when we got married, and not too far after, I had figured out that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And my husband at the time was a college student. So we were, and still are now, a one-income household. At that time, it was more like half an income household. So we had to be very intentional with our money, wise stewards of the little that we had. As any parent knows, life with kids feels busy. During the season of my first is when I had ran across this idea of minimalism and slow living. And this is when I realized I was living life at a pace and consumption level that was unmanageable, burdensome, and exhausting. It was not until I slowed down that the hard questions about my faith could come to surface. As any Christian parent would, I wanted to model God's heart towards my children, knowing I would be their first example of what God was like. No pressure, though. This raised questions in me about what is God like? Angry? Disappointed? Ready to punish? Loving and warm? Or distant and cold, depending on how I acted and behaved, or if I checked all the boxes on my religion card that week. And obviously, I wouldn't have thought this theologically about God, but there were some deep subconscious beliefs I had realized I had. Throughout all those years, I learned so much, and am still on a learning journey. So fast forward to today. I am a mom who loves Jesus, my husband, and children. I believe in nourishing mine and my family's mind, body, and soul together. I do this through low-tox, crunchy living, parenting in a way that is more respectful and conscious, practicing contentment through minimalism, but still appreciating a good thrift store find. I live at a slower and more manageable pace than I used to, and each day I'm changing and my mind is being renewed. These are mostly all because of 1,000 intentional decisions I've made along the way. So if you are into any of those kinds of things and my story interested you today, I would love if you liked this video and subscribe to my channel. In videos to come, I will be covering topics like this: motherhood, minimalism/slow living, financial stewardship, low-tox, crunchy living, along with my faith and mindset shifts. Basically, I'm inviting you into my life and all the intentional decisions I've made along the way in hopes that it will inspire you to live a life of purposeful decisions that create a life you love living, even if your decisions are different than mine. I don't have all these things figured out. I am just a traveler on this journey, and I would love if you join me. So come along, let's learn together. I'd love if you commented and let me know what kinds of things you're most excited to hear about first. I hope you have a refreshed week. Bye.